Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Rick Cesari, Ilko DeVere, and Howard Getson. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 26 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you can email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have here today Randy Hartnell. Randy started out as a commercial fisherman. He spent more than 20 years as a commercial fisherman. But then he went on to create the leading online seafood company, Vital Choice Wild Seafood and Organics. He's passionate about his company's mission, which is to provide consumers with high-quality, sustainable seafood while educating them about the impact of their food choices on their health and on the environment. I'm honored to welcome here today Randy Hartnell. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you, Richard. Pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely. And so I guess let's start with the commercial fishing part. So my understanding is you kind of took summers during college, taking a summer job essentially as a commercial fisherman.
That's right. Yeah, it was a great way to make my way through college. Could go up and spend maybe 6 weeks in Alaska and come home with a pocket full of money and pay my tuition, and I really enjoyed that.
And you were studying English Lit, correct?
I did get a degree in English Lit. I was going to go on, and I had a couple of different things in mind. But during the process, I kind of fell in love with fishing and going to Alaska. So,
well, it could have gone both ways. I mean, you could have ended up being another Hemingway, considering the fishing and the and English literature. I mean. You could have taken your experience from fishing and brought it to literature, I imagine.
Wrote great. I was a literate fisherman for many years and wrote some good journals.
Okay. Great. And so then you ended up though going into that career. I guess you fell in love with fishing and fell in love with that lifestyle, and so then you became a commercial fisherman.
I did. Bought a boat, then another boat, and a third boat, and hired my crews, and basically fished all up and down the coast of Pacific Northwest and in Alaska. Was typically gone about 6 months a year, mostly targeting salmon and herring, and it was really a great lifestyle. Being out in nature, most of us like being out in nature, fishing and whatnot, and so I, for a long time, got paid to do something that was really fun, kind of the last of the hunter-gatherer occupations.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. And then I guess there was a turn in the industry, as I understand it, that went toward farming, correct?
Yeah, industrial salmon farming came on the scene in a big way, and our prices started collapsing. We couldn't really keep up with, couldn't make enough selling our fish, couldn't compete with the farm salmon, and basically just got to the end of a season. I think it was about 2000, 2001, and we'd caught a lot of fish, but the price was so low I couldn't afford to pay my bills, couldn't afford to pay my crew, and had to figure out something else to do. And that was kind of the catastrophe, economic catastrophe and personal crisis that often leads to something new and different. And that ultimately became the Vital Choice.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sounds like that was a really hard time to go through. And I guess what do you said it often leads to something different. Like a hard time like that, a catastrophe can lead to something different, but not always. Like, and you just implied that in how you said it. So why for you? Why did it lead to something different?
Well, over the years, I've got to know quite a few entrepreneurs through different groups that I belong to. And it seems like many of them have that kind of a story. They confronted some obstacle in their work life or their personal life, and it's that whole thing about opportunity often knocks at the back door. The time it seemed horrible, to the extent that I didn't know if we were going to make it through it. But then, I don't know, I think I just remember my sort of brain going on fast forward, and I came up with this idea. That's a whole nother story. But once I locked onto it, the idea of shipping seafood to people, kind of the way Omaha Steaks had been doing it for many years, just seemed like there were a lot of reasons it should work. You know, there weren't, you could buy, Omaha Steaks was selling millions and millions of dollars worth of red meat through the mail, you know, every year. You can buy red meat in any grocery store in America pretty much. Whereas these wild salmon that I was catching, you couldn't find them anywhere. Most of them were going offshore, very little availability in the United States. And, you know, red meat at that time was not considered all that healthy, especially the factory farm stuff. Whereas wild salmon, the more I learned about it, I've been catching it all this time, but I really didn't understand nutritionally what an incredible superfood it was. So I started learning more about it. I thought, well, good gravy, if they're selling $50 million worth of red meat that you can buy in any grocery store, and I've got access to this incredible, natural, sustainable superfood, and people can't find it, just seemed like it would fly. And I had a lot of people that told me I was crazy, you know, the she'll never fly Orville kind of thing, the naysayers. And I guess that would be my one message to people, one of my messages to people that are going through a startup. Just don't listen to the naysayers, because everybody, you know, confronts them, and you just have, I think you have to have a vision and a confidence in your idea to get you over those challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So you didn't listen to the naysayers, but did you have help in terms of mentors and people that could, you know, you went from being a fisherman to being really a businessman. I mean, you were a businessman as a fisherman too, but it was a different type of business. I guess as a fisherman, your customers were people that you distributed fish to. Probably had a few people that bought the fish from you, right?
You know, as a fisherman, I was just selling. I was basically pulling up to a larger boat and offloading my fish, and I didn't worry about them after that. I got paid a few cents a pound, and so no, I had never sold, other than here and there, I really hadn't sold direct to consumers. So
exactly. So just one, really. It was just that one other company entity that you unloaded your fish to, and that was the type of business you ran. It was very much about that one transaction. But when you move towards selling, you know, to the masses, essentially, there's a whole different skill set that you needed to apply.
You know, I was really fortunate in that I had, you know, I understood the industry and I understood the products. So I knew that getting wild salmon from this part of the region was they're better than somewhere else. So I had that knowledge, which was sort of the foundation. But there was a lot I didn't know, you know, about setting up a company. But I did have a mentor. I think another thing that is a big factor in success is luck. You know, I was just lucky that I knew the right people. They seemed to come into my life at the time when I really needed them. I had a couple mentors that gave me really great advice. You know, one of probably the best pieces of advice I got was one of the fellows that I had been selling my fish to for many years. He said, "Randy, you can catch fish or you can sell fish, but don't try to do both." You know, so it's all about focus. And over the years, pardon me?
No, it's a joke. I said, and don't be selfish.
But I've watched so many people that I knew in the industry that try to do both. Right. You know, try to go out and catch their fish and then come in and sell them. And you can do that, but I think just completely stepping out of being a fisherman and into marketing my own fish enabled me to put all my energy into that new project. And then I met another fellow who ultimately became my partner, who had more of he had a Stanford MBA. He was a real business, you know, smart in business. And he had also been a fisherman. And so we were introduced by a mutual friend and have been partners ever since, and just it's just been really a good relationship. I think it's critical also to find people to fill in your gaps, fill in your shortcomings.
Absolutely. So if there's something in your skill set that's needed, you can find other people, partner with other people that could supply that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And so then in terms of mentors and other people that helped you, how did you find the resources to be able to learn the things that you needed to learn?
This one particular mentor, who, again, the same fellow who told me, make up your mind which one you want to do. At that point, we had the price of fish had been down for a long time. We hadn't made any money. That was about the time the stock market had crashed. The internet bubble had blown up, and it was just a rough time. And so I didn't have enough to get the company off the ground. So I went out and worked to enlist investors. And I didn't need a whole lot, a couple $100,000. But this one fellow who I had caught fish for many years, he knew me, he trusted me, he liked me, he wanted to help me. But this just sounded like such a harebrained idea that, it took about a year for me to convince him that maybe, I don't think he ever did think it would work. I think he just finally broke down and said, okay. And so he told me, if you can go out and raise, half of what you're looking for, I will give you the other half, because if it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to pay me back anyhow. So, but anyway, and part of that deal was, he said, I want to introduce you to somebody who's got, business acumen. And that was the fellow that became my partner. So, beyond that, it was, if you've got a product, we had the product, we built a website, but really there are a million websites out there, as you know. And so it's really, how do you get the customers?
Right.
And that's where really, it was almost magical the way things unfolded. I was still fishing part-time. I was down in San Francisco herring fishing, and I was going across the bay in my boat. I was out by Alcatraz Island, and all of a sudden my boat started slowing down. I was out on the front of the boat steering from a forward steering station. I turned around, and there was just steam and smoke billowing out of the cabin of the boat, and one of my engines had blown up. And to make a long story short, that just seemed like this is the final blow. How much worse can it get? So we're just getting ready to go fishing, and now my boat's broken down. And so I made it into the docks, tied up, started rebuilding the engine, and I had a little TV on in the cabin, just keeping me company. And there was this fellow on there on PBS promoting his book, which was called The Wrinkle Cure, which sounded totally crazy, and I only half paid attention to it. Then I realized that his wrinkle cure was salmon. He was promoting a salmon diet. So I perked up. I eventually wrote him a letter. I said, you're on national television promoting a salmon diet. I'm starting a company. I'll ship salmon to anybody that's on a FedEx route.
Right.
And he responded. I ended up going and having a meeting. He started promoting us. I think the day we turned the website on, we had just a ton of customers that came from his book. He was producing another book, or writing another book, and had other specials. And to this day, he still sends us customers after all these years. And then we met with, because the product we were selling, this wild Alaska salmon, has such a great story, and nutritionally it's just unsurpassed. Sustainability wise, it's unsurpassed. It was really easy, surprisingly easy, to get these sort of A-list top influencers' attention. Mm-hmm. And they all have communities, they're all writing books, they're all on TV, and they knew that the science behind, sort of on a molecular level, of the products we were selling. And so they all agreed to just start promoting us. So we had a huge sort of windfall of guerrilla marketing. They just promoted us because really there wasn't any competition. And so we had the product, we had the website, we had that was the beginning of the marketing. And then a few other things happened. But that was 18 years ago, and we've grown every year since. So I think the last sort of factor that has really contributed to our ongoing success is just a really intense focus on quality. And we're able to do that, focus on quality, because we're not in grocery stores. I have friends that try to sell their seafood into grocery stores. They are so price conscious, especially the seafood departments, because roughly half the seafood that comes into a grocery store gets thrown out because it's so perishable. And so they don't like seafood. They don't want to invest in a lot of it. That's why they love farm salmon, and they sell tons of farm salmon because they can get it fresh 24/7, 365, and it's cheaper. So if they do end up having to throw it out, then it's not that much of a loss. So I watched my friends that were trying to sell wild salmon for all its benefits to the grocery store world, and they would end up going bankrupt. They just could not compete. They had to lower their quality bar in order to get the price down to where the grocery stores wanted it. By going direct to consumers, we were able to maintain quality. We just go out and buy the best product we could find at whatever price we had to pay, and so I think that turned out to be a real benefit.
That seems like a good strategic move. It's selling to the grocery stores can be a race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess you don't want to be in a race to the bottom when you're in the fishing business.
Well, I mean, it's so many people. One of the most gratifying things about what we do is there are a tremendous number of people out there who have gotten bad fish.
Right.
The grocery store clerks, they may end up throwing out half of it, but a lot of it, they probably should throw out more of it, because they'll end up hanging on to it for a day or two past when they should throw it out. And by the time consumers get it home, it just doesn't taste very good. And a lot of people think that, I don't like seafood. It tastes fishy. Every time I get fish, it's fishy. And restaurants are the same way. They often will serve, I'd say 50% of the time when I order seafood in a restaurant, it doesn't taste very good. So
yeah, it's interesting, and I'm sure yours is better, and I'm looking forward to trying your salmon. But I usually get my salmon at Costco, and it's funny because and salmon happens to be the barbecuing salmon is my dish. People, it's very easy
fantastic.
to do. Like I don't think there's any real magic to it, but people say, "Oh, you have to taste rich as salmon." Okay,
Awesome.
but I'll tell you is anytime I've ever gone to another store and bought salmon, terrible. Like, even the better supermarkets, just not as good. For some reason, Costco has good salmon. Like I said, I don't know as much as you do about it to know like what type it is, what grade it is, how it compares. But it's kind of funny that just from that experience, I could tell you all of the supermarkets just terrible.
Yeah, it is kind of hit and miss, especially with the wild salmon, because it's seasonal, and so a lot of times it's you just don't know. They'll thaw it out and put it out, and you don't know how long it's been sitting there. Costco they do a good job generally. They do buy a lot of Alaskan salmon and sell it. I've seen it in ours here locally over the last few months. In fact, I think in March or April they had a sign up. You could only each membership was only allowed to buy 1 or 2 fillets or something. It's put a limit on them. It's kind of like the toilet paper.
Yeah, absolutely. So, which reminds me then, I know that you started this company with health benefits in mind. Of course, you wanted to sustain yourself. You were in a situation where things got pretty dire, and out of that necessity, you created something new, a new opportunity. But also, you're passionate about the health benefits of wild salmon compared to the farm salmon. And so that's been at the core of your messaging, at the core of the mission of your business. But it seems that lately, during the pandemic, like everyone's been knocking at your door. So do you want to tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, in March when the lockdown first happened, I think most online e-commerce companies were just, had a rush of business, and we were just blown away. We just almost overnight, just overwhelmed with demand, and we ran out of a lot of products. We just couldn't refill our shelves fast enough. After a few weeks of sort of getting our feet beneath us, we did that, and now we're up and we're running about 40, 50% over last year, which is great. After as long as we've been in business, we've never had that kind of growth. But it's gratifying to be able to provide people with, the types of products that really support their health. And I think there's a lot of evidence. One of the other things that we did early on, Rich, was we started a newsletter to build our community. That was sort of the podcast of the day, right? We had built an email newsletter list, and I hired a fellow science-based health writer, and I think we've since published over 1,000. He published over 1,000 original articles, just all kinds of health, nutrition, sustainability, and whatnot. And those are all in our archive on our website. But so consequently, we were sort of on top of all the studies that were coming out, and there's really no end of them. There's probably more than 30,000 different studies, way more than that now, I think, about the health benefits of these types of healthy fats that you get exclusively in seafood, which are essential, which are almost completely missing from the standard American diet. One of the reasons that people end up doing poorly with COVID, die from COVID, is they get this runaway inflammatory response. It's this term cytokine storm. It's your body just going into overdrive, inflammation overdrive. Well, these omega-3 fats are the modulator of inflammation in our bodies. And I'd be surprised if you could find somebody that had a healthy balance of these types of fats that had a serious response. In fact, I have a friend who's a doctor, an MD, and she said she would stake her reputation on the fact that if you showed her somebody who hadn't had a healthy balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fats, you won't find anybody. Generally, she doesn't think you would find anybody that would have a bad response to COVID. But I hesitate to get into the whole story because it can,
right.
It's
controversy.
But there's a lot of it. I don't think it's so much controversial. I think there's plenty of evidence for it. But it's, if you want to watch people's eyes glaze over or ears shut, start talking about biochemistry and, this kind of fat and that kind of fat. And
right.
Suffice it to say, just eat seafood two or three times a week, and generally your health is going to improve if you're on a standard American diet. And I've seen this over the years personally, which is what makes me so passionate about it. I've watched people I know and love who've dealt with chronic health problems for years. And all of a sudden, when they started lowering the omega-6 fats, raising the omega-3 fats, these things just went away. And so it's when you realize that you can help people get rid of things that have been bothering them for so long, you want to do that. And,
yeah.
So
absolutely. And so just like all of this information that you've been putting out over the years about the health benefits, people have come to realize. So it's not just a matter of the massive surge in e-commerce from March, people just ordering things to be delivered at home as opposed to going out to stores. I think people are starting to realize the health benefits. People are starting to pay attention to the importance of these health benefits and of balancing things like omega-3 and omega-6. And so it's like more and more, I guess, followers of what you're passionate about have been showing up.
Yeah, I think for our business, the fact that we were, actually when we started out, we partnered with another company they sold a lot of smoked salmon and things like that, but primarily for the gift market. So they would just explode around the holidays. And then they would have to lay everybody off after the holidays. And I had a friend who was a COO there. And I told her what I was thinking about doing. She said, well, why don't you let us ship for you? Because we've got a lot of excess capacity. And so when we came out of the gate, we did that. We partnered with them. And it was really fascinating to watch the difference. They had more of this gift message, buy this product for, your dad or whoever. Our message was, this stuff is something you should be eating every week. You need to incorporate this into your diet on a regular basis. And that's basically what people did, or we appealed to people who got the message, who understood the message. And So we have customers that have ordered over hundreds of times from us, been with us for almost since the very beginning. It's been really cool. As opposed to if we had just gone into the gift market, it's much more, well, as you may know, most online sales happen around the holidays, across all different types of products. There's just a lot of, not only online, but
gift purchases. And I guess that's the start for some people too. Some people initially have a gift and then they become a direct customer.
yes, we've always looked at the sort of that gift initiative around the holidays as an acquisition strategy because generally people love what they get from us and they decide they want more, and so then they come back.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like you mentioned when you started out, that there wasn't a lot of competition. Actually, wasn't a lot of competition for attention on the internet either. Like you selling products online in 2001 is, I mean, there's probably 100th the traffic that there is now to websites, maybe even less. And so, it's like, Gary Vee tells the stories about, starting his online wine business, I think 1999 or thereabouts. And it's just, like you guys were about the only people on the internet. And then when you start collecting your list, your newsletter, it's not like people were inundated by emails and newsletters. So you actually were in a great place to grow your business. It was the right time.
Yeah, to put this year's growth in perspective, we were at a pretty steady organic growth. It was just like a little stair step for most of the 18 years. On the upside, when the 2008 crash hit, we hardly skipped a beat. It just kind of kept growing. We actually even grew that year, and 8-10% growth a year. So this year, 40-50% it's pretty dramatic because we're a lot bigger now, and having all these new customers, of course, we want to hopefully retain. Yeah, the pandemic has resulted in a bit of a windfall for a lot of companies. I think Amazon even is up 100% or some crazy amount. I don't know how they do it, but we're just trying to take as good a care of our customers as possible. I was really inspired along the way by Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos, and other people, but he really is totally focused on the customer service. So we hired customer service manager, a 24/7 customer service team, right, fairly soon after we started the company. And it's the whole, out here in the Pacific Northwest, sort of Nordstrom's is kind of legendary for the customer's always right. You can bring something in you didn't even, I don't know that they're still that way, but back then it was like, just whatever, money back guarantee. So we did that. And I think that, well, it's made us a lot more careful about what we send to people, because if we tell them they're going to get their money back, we're spending a lot of money to ship them this expensive perishable product overnight or 2-day or whatever. If we start getting a lot of returns, we're going to be not stay in business very long. So,
right.
So that's sort of forced us to make sure that we put out good products. And then Steve Jobs, what inspiration I took from him was this whole idea of, hiring A+ people. There's a quote, one of my favorite quotes. He said, "A small team of A+ people can run circles around a giant team of B and C, players." And so we've always, paid whatever we had to pay to get the best people that we could afford, and I think that's paid off in spades too.
Yeah, I agree. I think having 8 players makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And
even back when I was fishing, I would watch all these fellows around me, these people around me. They would hire the cheapest help that they could get some green guy off the beach who really didn't know what he was doing, and then curse him all season because he wasn't moving fast enough or doing the right thing. And I was always at the other end of the spectrum. I wanted as any smart business person would. You want the most productive people, and they usually will pay for themselves many times over. But I kind of took that. I had the same crewmen for over 10 years. So they were just great, and so I've tried to replicate that with Vital Choice. And all that, we're up to close to 50 employees now, and just a great team, a lot of really wonderful people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm wondering, so like we talked before about how you've adapted your skills over the years. I mean, coming from the skills necessary for a fisherman, and then you started basically pitching wild salmon and like the benefits of wild salmon, and then the skills necessary to grow your mail order business or your direct to consumer business. So those are the skills. What about the mindset? How has your mindset evolved over the years from the days in which you were a fisherman to where you sit here today? And really what you think has helped grow your mindset to the one that has made you successful?
You know, I was fortunate enough to develop some mentors along the way. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Colby Index.
Yep.
It's a I think one of the most serendipitous things I ever did was to meet Dan Sullivan and be introduced to the Colby Index. Dan Sullivan, as you may know, is a pretty well-known business coach.
Strategic coach.
Strategic coach, yes. And that really resulted in a shift in my thinking. At the time that I went into strategic coach 7-8 years ago, I felt like the guy on the plate. Well, for your older viewers, they may remember Ed Sullivan and the plate spinner, or somebody juggling way more balls than I could keep in the air at any one time. And Dan, the combination of Dan and Colby helped me understand myself and basically get everything off my plate that I don't do well, and focus on the things that I do. That I love doing, and I think that shift maybe one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I quit trying to do the things that I wasn't that good at. I realized that as far as Colby goes, I'm a fact finder, so I can just bury myself in books and data and for hours,
and let other people focus on the other things.
Let other people focus on the operations and not feel bad about not doing the operations or not doing the things that I'm not good at.
Right.
So
because you're focused on doing what you do well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a fact finder.
That's right. And it I don't know, it just takes a lot of pressure off when you realize that when you get all that stuff off your plate that you don't enjoy doing. I think that's what everybody should try to get if possible, and just makes life a lot more pleasant and gratifying.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot better for the business, right? You get people that are doing what they love to do in every aspect of business.
Right. So not only is it okay for me to focus on what I love to do, what I'm good at it, but I'm making space for other people to focus on the things that they love doing.
Yeah, it's that whole Jim Collins thing about getting the right people on the bus and in the right seats, and I think that there's a lot of value to that.
Awesome. So if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you or your company, how do they go about doing so?
Well, our website is vitalchoice.com. We've got a really great search feature on there, so any particular information or products that you're looking for, you can type in there. We've got a 24/7 call line, chat, all of that. Or if they want to reach out to me personally, just randy@vitalchoice.com, RANDY@vitalchoice.com.
Great. Thanks so much, and I really appreciate you being here, and appreciate you taking the time, and it's great to connect with you. Thanks so much, Randy.
Thank you, Rich. Good to be with you.